Are you live?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're on.
YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we have about 10 minutes until we officially go live with Jeff Jacobson to answer questions that will be coming in. We got a couple questions already from various people talking about the unemployment issue. Sarah Sadat's going to be helping me take some questions as they come in, and I'm going to obviously also try to moderate, talk to Jeff. Hopefully get your questions answered. New York Times today, it's terrifying, millions more out of work. It's our job to get the information out there, and anything we can do to help get some information out there, tell people how the filing process works, especially in light of the crashes that multiple states are going through regarding an overwhelming amount of filing going on. I think it's important to get that information out there to everybody. So that's why we appreciate Jeff Jacobson coming on. This will begin at 7 o'clock, where Jeff will talk us and walk us through the steps to file for unemployment, also answer any questions that come up from members. Doesn't start officially till 7 o'clock, but we started 10 minutes early to test everything that's going on, to make sure that if there's any questions that come up before Jeff joins us, that we get those questions in the comment section so that we can start answering for people some of the questions that is going through a lot of people's mind. Again, if you're just joining us, Raza Siddiqui, Native Vice President. This is my wife, Sarah Sadat. For people who live in Chicago, you've seen my wife. She comes to a lot of rallies. She comes out and helps us a lot, and she's helping again. She's taking any questions that come in either at this phone number, 773-860-6397, or comments that come up. Sarah's going to be reading it out for Jeff to answer as he goes along. There's also an option, should be visible on Facebook, that if you want to ask your question yourself, I think you click that link and we can pop you up on the screen here, and you can ask the question yourself, because a lot of times you'll maybe write the question, and when we read it, we won't get exactly the answer that you want, or there's follow-up portions to the question. So sometimes it's better to be on the line and dialogue directly with our expert. Jeff's been very helpful. Jeff Jacobson helped us out multiple times, and he's agreed to come on again and help some of our members. We have a lot of members joining us from various places. We want to make sure to get that information out. Sarah will be helping with that. This officially begins in 9 minutes. 9 minutes. If you got any questions, start popping them in here, and we'll be milling around until we get the expert officially on. So would you just talk for me, please? I want to make sure the audio's good.
Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. Testing the audio. This is Sarah. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Checking the audio. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Testing the audio.
At least a beautiful day out there today. We are going live in about 6 minutes with our resident expert, Jeff Jacobson, who's kind of been walking us through various seminars about how to file for unemployment given the challenges that a lot of states are dealing with sites overwhelming. That's slated to begin in about 6 minutes. Jeff Jacobson will be joining us. Just want to take a second beforehand, introduce myself, Raza Siddiqui, Region 4 Vice President NABIT. Sarah Sadat over there, she's my lovely wife and also producer for the show. Any questions that come in, she'll be reading it out so that Jeff can answer, and we'll be taking notes so that we can also get this information out to other people as well. Because a lot of times we find people are having the exact same questions and we want to make sure all the questions are answered. I want to encourage anyone who's watching this, who thinks that this would be good information to share with other members, other people in the community. I mean, we're seeing headlines like this. It's terrifying, millions more out of work. A lot of people need this information. Let's get it out to them. If you find the information going on here informational, good information, share it, get it out there to other people as well. Wanted to start this stream about 10 minutes early, just so that if you have any questions that you specifically want us to ask Jeff, that those questions get out there so that we can answer them. There should also be an option on Facebook. It's a StreamYard link. If you click that link, we can take you up on this feed and you can ask your question yourself. A lot of times the questions may not come across well if I'm asking them on your behalf. You might want to engage Jeff yourself and get exactly the answer you want. So that's the purpose of that link. You'll pop up here and you can ask the question. If you have a question about something in specific, I can guarantee you a lot of other people have the same. I'll tell you a couple of issues that we've heard about. Some people have asked if we're W-2 employees, but we also have our own business on the side. How does that coincide with the PPP filing and also unemployment filing? These are questions I'm not an expert to, but this is exactly what Jeff knows and does, and he'll help us navigate and walk through this process that a lot of people unfortunately are finding themselves in. Hopefully a very temporary situation, but it's always good to have this knowledge. Again, this program officially starts at 7 o'clock. At what time we'll have Jeff dialed in, but until then, just wanted to give an opportunity for questions to be asked and testing to be done so that this live stream pops up in people's feeds. See you guys in a couple. Quick question, if you're watching this, if you could just comment, is this audio sounding good? Is it sounding over-modulated to the people listening? Just want to get an idea of if these audio levels are good on this microphone. Start engaging some of the viewers, listeners. In about 3 minutes here, we're going to have Jeff Jacobson joining us to answer questions, and I want to make sure the audio quality is good. How's it sounding? Sarah Sadat, ladies and gentlemen. My beautiful wife and also the producer on the show, she'll be reading any questions that come in either to my text here or also to the Facebook stream. Sarah will be announcing them as the program gets started, which is officially slated to begin at 7 o'clock when Jeff Jacobson will be joining us to talk about issues pertaining to unemployment. This is just a cursory start to it to make sure everyone knows where it is and report any problems that may be had. All right, it's officially 7 o'clock. Thank you to everyone who's joining in. Looks like Jeff just popped up too, right on cue. 7 o'clock, a very punctual man. Hey, Jeff, thanks for joining us. Can you hear us?
I can, and thanks for doing this.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you again for joining us. We have a lot of people who had some questions who have called in. We're probably going to see a lot of similar questions to what we had before. And if you're watching this and you have any questions, please do text it in, send it on here. Okay, everyone's saying it sounds good. Jeff, first of all, tell us what you're finding from your discussions with people. I know you've been doing a lot of these seminars. Jeff Jacobson has seen on TV. You've been on a lot of the media circuit right now. What are you seeing
right
there?
So, I mean, there's still major problems. Still, people can't sign on. It's still a little disaster. Getting questions on the fact that they don't need to apply for jobs, but that part of the system isn't working. I explained to them, just ignore that part.
So
checks haven't come, debit deposits. I'm trying to set up my camera, sorry.
No worries.
I'm not a professional camera setting up.
No worries.
Okay.
We can see you.
That's why you need a NABET personnel there to do that. And when times return back to normal, we encourage that everyone returns back to normal and gets the professionals out there doing it. But thank you for bearing with us and getting everything set up. Sorry, you were saying, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying before we start having questions and everything else roll in, can we just do a really quick recap on how to apply for unemployment and some of the rules that have been kind of foregone, the wait period and all of that. I think it would be just good to have a recap, just again, I'm just thinking about myself. If I was in that situation, when I was in that situation, it would have been nice just to know how can I do it? What's the process from beginning to the end?
Right, and I understand that 1 week period is no longer applicable. Let's talk about that because that's something that's very important for a lot of our members, a lot of our viewers to know. So if we could.
Right. So that's just during the coronavirus time. There's no longer a 1 week waiting period for your benefits, and your benefits will start the day that your employment has been severed, reduced in hours.
Okay, and tell us some of the other questions that you're hearing.
Well, right. So the biggest is not being able to call in or get online. There's questions where they're working part-time. If you want, I can go through the just briefly the process to file, the starting of it.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Right. So the first step is, and this only applies to employees, not 1099 independent contractors. So if you're a W-2, W-4 employee, this would apply to you currently. The 1099 independent contractors, they're working on the procedure still. So you would go online, the Illinois Department of Employment Security, there's a tab for filing for unemployment benefits, and you'd hopefully be able to get in and start filling out the form. There's several pages of information. There's the choice on whether you were laid off, reduction in hours, you quit, or other, depending upon the situation. Pick one of them. There isn't going to be one for COVID-19, but pick one of those. Sorry, the cat, and then fill out the information. It's going to send you to the job search section where normally you would apply to look for a job, but because of COVID-19, you don't have to do that, and it doesn't work, so you won't be able to do that part. Just go get out of there. You'll get a page that has your claim number. Once you get your claim number, you're now all set. The state recommends you do direct deposit, but you can do direct deposit or a debit card. I think the direct deposit gets to you, the money gets to you quicker than the debit card, but I don't know that it's really that significant. After you apply, it's probably 2 weeks, although if they get up to speed, it'll be within a 1 week. You'll get notification, you'll get a letter that says, here's the information, and this is when you need to call in and for every 2 weeks. It'll give you a day to call in. Go online. So you would go online during that period, confirm you're still not working full-time. You'll report any wages. So if you're a gig worker and you got laid off, but you do 1 gig or you work 1 hour or whatever it is, and you're going to get wages for that, you would report that at that time. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so we've had several questions for people, as you know, in our industry who might own a production company, but then have several W-2s coming in as well. And we actually had the question with the PPP, with the small business grants, as well as with the unemployment. How do they play with each other? What kind of interactions are we seeing with that? Does one limit the other, or are they mutually exclusive? How do those work?
Okay, so, they're different hats. So if you're an independent contractor, that's obviously different. If you're a gig employee and you have several gigs, if your hours got reduced or wages, then you're entitled to benefits. Whatever you make, whatever you earn, you're entitled to. And that's from an employer. So if you're 1099, those are not reportable wages under the IRS rules.
So nothing 1099. If you're an Uber driver, if you do that on site, none of that is reportable for the W-2s or for the.
Anything is a 1099 is not reportable as wages. It's not money received from an employer. So it's not wages. So some people are a 1099 and a W-2 if their hours are reduced because of the W-2 employer. They'll be able to claim unemployment benefits. What used to happen is if you were an independent contractor and a W-2 and your hours got reduced with the W-2, you wouldn't be considered actively and available for work because you had your 1099 or independent contractor. that's been put by the wayside right now. They're not looking at whether people are actively available and able to work.
Okay. Some of the other issues that we were talking about is that waiting period is now no longer the case. You were also saying
Correct.
that it doesn't matter when you get through because there have been such logs with the internet interfaces with getting information, but it's actually the date at which you were unemployed. Kind of go over that.
Right. Right. So it's the date you're severed from employment is the date your benefits started. So technically, it doesn't matter when you file, but from a practical point, it's critical because if you need the money and you can't afford to spend a month trying to get through on the internet. I think that the best times to go online are after 3 p.m. and before 10 a.m. Between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., IDS is saying they're getting their most calls or going online the most. So that's still the problem, obviously, is less people file for unemployment because eventually it's going to be, there's very few people left to file for unemployment. As that gets reduced, the internet will be available for that. The problem is every 2 weeks, everyone on unemployment in Illinois has to go online and report their 2-week earnings and whether they're back to work. So the internet's going to get swamped at some point when people are doing the 2 weeks.
Well, just looking at the New York Times article right now that says it's terrifying, millions more out of work. So we're looking at a situation right now, and I know it's not just in Illinois, but talk to people in various states from Texas, Arkansas, every which else place. That's essentially saying they're dealing with the same issues. They're just dealing with an overload in terms of what's going on. So I'm just wondering, what is a good methodology? I know earlier in the week we were talking about as you're filling out the forms online, if you go that route, continuously save your work because sometimes these things are crashing directly. I know your website, if people are tuning in from Illinois, also has printable forms. Tell us about that. And actually,
right. So I put the form online. They stopped using the printable form, but if for some people are having an impossible time getting online, they don't have access to the internet, and now all the local offices are closed, they have to accept the printable form. They have to have 2 methods to apply, and because they shut down the offices, this would be the second one. So they can download from my website, jeffjacobsonlaw.com, print it out, mail it in. They should still try to be online, but if they can't, at least they've got that going for them. But and every state is different. So every state has different requirements, even though it's unemployment comes from the federal law, from Social Security. Every state has different procedures, different requirements. So it's basically Illinois we're working on.
So have you heard anything about the acceptance of the paper forms yet? We've been doing this with you at least for the past 3 weeks. So has anybody reached out to you saying that they've had success with the paper forms?
So unfortunately, when people have success, they don't contact me anymore. I've not heard, so I don't know whether anyone has, and if anyone's listening or see this and they have used the paper form and have had success, let me know. I have not heard from any of the legislatures or anyone involved that the paper forms are not working. They have to work. I mean, they're getting them. The only problem is if someone's typing in the information, they might type it in wrong with the state of Illinois, and that could be a problem.
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you one of the things that I found is a couple of people from the last session you did, if they were having trouble getting in, have actually written letters. And I've heard from 2 people that they've gotten a response when they've written a letter, kind of a pseudo appeal to the fact that they couldn't get their information in. Have you heard about that from any of the people you've been talking to?
I haven't heard that. Once again, so I don't I'm basically dealing with people that have problems and trying to help them. You probably stand more in position to hear people that are finding success, that are things are working for them. That's why the application, if they mail it in, the worst case is that they're going to contact them and get it through. The best case is they're going to, IDS is going to input it in their system and start them on unemployment benefits. But writing in is definitely going to work.
Yeah, and again, we were only advising that in case they were not able to get online. So online would still be the preferred method, right? Along with phone calls in. The paper form should be the last in priority that anybody tries to do.
Right, and they can do both. So they can fill out the form, mail it in, and try to get online. If they do get online, there's no harm. There's no harm to doing both methods. So it'll help to do both if they can. If they get online, there's no advantage to the paper one. So once they've got it online, they filled out all the information, there's no advantage to then going and filling out the form because they'll have a claimant number.
Fantastic.
And just remember, if you get to the part for applying for jobs on the work search system, it's not going to work. So don't get frustrated that you can't go any farther in that. Just get out of that, get your claim number, and you're done.
All right. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm Raza Siddiqui. This is Sarah Sadat, who's taking your questions and helping get them out. And Jeff Jacobson. Jeff, talk a little about, I know we've done this in a lot of your sessions, but tell us a little about who you are and some of your expertise, please.
I'm sorry?
Tell us a little about your expertise, what it is that you do. And
yeah, that's a good point. So I've practiced law for 30-something years. And, one of the areas is an employment labor law. And I used to be an administrative law judge with the Department of Employment Security and their appeals division hearing cases on appeal. So I did that for years. I handled approximately 10,000 decisions while working for the Department of Employment Security. I've done administrative reviews. I've taken cases on unemployment as far as it can go. I'm pulling up my laptop, and some of the questions I've been getting, wages from other states. Sometimes you're going to have to, if you get wages from other states, they're going to want to know about those wages, and you're going to need to report to them what it is you made. Currently, it'll be the last quarter of 2018 and the first 3 quarters of 2019. You'll have to report what your wages were, not independent contractor, but your W-2 wages.
And one of the questions we had before is if you have an employer from out of state, from another state, where should you file? Should you file in your own state or in the state of the employer? And I know our union, for instance, advised to always file in their own state first, but if there's an issue, then to contact the other state and have it sent over. What has been your kind of guidance to people in other industries or in the general community regarding that?
I think it's easier to file in your home state if there's something you need to do. It's just more convenient. If you need to file, for example, an administrative review, that's in the court, and so it would be easier to go to your local courthouse than somewhere else. And typically when you file in another state, they sometimes submit it to your home state for them to do the whole processing. But I would recommend at this point just file in your home state. And then one of the bonuses that I forgot to mention, whatever the state of Illinois determines your unemployment benefits is, the federal government's going to add $600 to that. So if you're working part-time and you get $100 in unemployment benefits a week, the government's adding $600 a week to that.
Jeff, that's something I wanted to ask you about. I know I asked you offline because we had heard some people said that $600, so that comes out of your taxes later, right? But is that different than your understanding? Explain exactly what that $600 is.
So none of this comes out of your taxes. Right? So as best as I can guess, the reason that rumor started is all this money is our tax money. The federal government is spending tax money. It's not like the federal government got a gift from another country. So it's all our tax money. And because it's being spent for whatever the budget is next year, it's going to need to get replenished. So I don't know how they're going to work the taxes out. I don't know what's going to get cut, what's not, what's going to happen. But it is not something that you're personally responsible for paying back. The employer will have to pay back. Their tax rate will go up for the next 3 years based on the number of claims they have. And claims is someone filing for unemployment benefits.
But we're hearing companies actively telling their people, hey, we're paying you until this contract date, and then we urge you to seek unemployment. So this is kind of something that companies are expecting is going to happen, and there should never be any repercussion for filing, correct?
No, and actually, I've heard some people have gotten their wages reduced, so they're working part-time, but even those wages have been substantially reduced because they filed for unemployment benefits. That's illegal in Illinois. If you file for unemployment benefits, the employer can't modify your wages or do anything to you.
And again, tell us how that works. Like if you have several contracts, you have several work coming in, you're a gig worker, and you lose a couple of those, just the average income going down is something that you could file for.
So it's, let's say you have 10, you're working for 10 companies and you got gigs. And one of them says you work one day and they say, that's all we have for you. Don't have any more gigs for you. You can file for unemployment benefits. However, if the other gigs are still supplying you with enough work, you won't be able to receive anything. So it's really how many gigs, how much work you're not doing. So if with the remaining gigs you have, you're still able to get 40 hours of work a week, you could file for unemployment benefits for the one gig that said, I got nothing for you anymore, but you'll be denied because you have full-time work from the other gigs.
Okay. Sorry, you got any more questions? And just a reminder to anyone watching, if you have any specific questions that you want Jeff to answer, we're on for another 10, 15 minutes. Just want to make sure that you get your questions answered and have an opportunity to engage. You can also click that link if you want to ask the questions yourself directly. Sarah?
Yeah, so I think some of the questions were just around wages. If you are, again, as you guys call it, the gig workers, right? So if you're working, what's the maximum amount of allowance that you can say that you were making? And then as far as dependents go, if you were a gig employee and then your wife was a salary employee and you're both unemployed at this time, what does that look like?
So if you're unemployed and your spouse is unemployed, and I think I have the chart here, you're entitled for... and so if people want to look it up, it's you can look at the weekly benefit amount table with IDS. It's 13 pages long here, and so it's based on the amount of what your weekly benefit amount is and capped off. There's only so much they're going to pay for unemployed, and let's see if I can pull up some of the numbers. So for example, if you made $2,820.98 in the two highest quarters,
that's
it's two highest quarters.
Okay.
You would receive $51 in benefits.
Okay.
Which isn't a substantial amount, but they can go to the charts and look up their amount that they're entitled to receive. And then as you make more, you will be receiving more in benefits. And then you will get for a non-working spouse, there's an allowance for that. There's an additional amount. And for a dependent child, there's an additional amount. So the non-working spouse, it's currently 9%, and the dependent child is 17.9%. Of your average weekly wages. But it's, if you're good with taxes, there's a chart. You can look it up. If you have any questions where it is, you can contact me. I can get you the chart. Although the easiest method is just to contact the state of Illinois, and they'll tell you what your weekly benefit amount is.
If you can get through with them. We heard literally somebody said that they were on the phone for 8 hours today trying to get through. And I'm sure that's the message all across.
Did they get through?
They did eventually get through. And one thing worth saying, I remember you had said if you're on the call at 5 o'clock, they're going to wait. They're going to get to your calls. Is that still something you're finding?
Right. That's what I've been told. So I don't know from day to day and who the employees are, but I'm told that once you're in the queue by 5 p.m., they will be getting everyone's call.
All right.
The other thing is, I guess we can point out, so most people are employees and not independent contractors. In the construction industry, there's actually a statute that prevents people from being independent contractors. So most are employees. So if as an independent contractor you're laid off, you may actually be an employee and entitled to unemployment benefits.
Okay. I think that answers a majority of my questions. I'm just looking to see if any more questions have come through, but you've already addressed a lot of them. Sorry, do you have anything else?
No, I believe so. And I think there were questions around, do I have to go outside if I don't feel safe, and all of those other things. And I think we have other webinars that Raza has done in the past with various other people, with union leaders, as well as people that are with Arise Chicago that help employees out there, as well as even employers out there, just to maintain that safety and that security. So do not be afraid of speaking up or reaching out to any one of us. Again, we're doing this service because we are getting a lot of questions around this again and again. And the questions are always, how do we go ahead and file? Number one, right? So to go to the IDS website and go ahead and start filling out that process. If you do not
the other thing is they can also go for FMLA. The first 2 weeks from the employer, they won't get paid. But under, if they file for unemployment benefits, they would get benefits. And then the next 10 weeks, the employer has to pay them a percentage of their wages, but it's capped off. So that's another possibility if they want to go that route. I don't see that as financially beneficial.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you again for joining us. We got 4 more minutes. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
Let's see. I've had some people contact me that some companies are not reporting wages. That may be the case. You need to report to the department what it is you received in wages. They may want further documentation, but then you would get benefits based on those wages. And then if you don't like what happened because it didn't, the department isn't following the law and the rules, you can always appeal. You have to do that. I would do that within a few days of getting a decision that you don't like. They'll send you the final decision. So when you first apply, most of the time you'll automatically start receiving money. But at some point, within the next 28, 30 days, they can decide that you're not eligible and they can stop your unemployment benefits and demand you return the money. You'd want to appeal that to the appeals division.
Jeff, tell us also if people want to get in touch with you for additional information, how they can do that. Tell us a little about your resources that you have available.
Sure. So they can call me at 331-222-9529, or they can go to the website at jeffjacobsonlaw.com. So that's JEFFJACOBSONLAW.com. We've got web pages with some information. Try to update it frequently. We have the paper application they can download, fill out, and mail in. We have the address for the where to mail stuff on the website, and just trying to update with information, like I say, as frequently as we can.
Jeff, sorry about that, Raza.
No,
Jeff, there was a question that just came in. They filed about 3 weeks ago. When should they be expecting any kind of feedback or touchback with them? They haven't received any checks. They haven't received anything from IDES.
So that there's something wrong. They need to call in. If they had a claim number, if they received a claim number, then they should have received by now the letter confirming that they've got it and the days they need to call in. Possibility the mail got lost, but they need to call in because they'll have a date in which they got to go online and certify, and if they miss that date, their unemployment benefits will stop, and then they're going to have to file an appeal on that.
Okay, so the quickest turnaround should be around a week to 2 week period, correct?
Yes. 2 weeks is, from what I'm hearing, that would be on the very long side.
Okay.
Some people are getting it in a 1 week.
Okay.
Jeff, I got a question for you. Since all this has happened, I'm sure you've been getting a lot of calls. I know you've been doing a lot of Facebook requests with us. You've been getting a lot of media
Right.
appearances to talk about this. We've been getting a lot of good feedback about all the information that you've provided. I'm sure earlier this year, you never thought that this would be something you'd be speaking about as much as you are. And I know you're a full-time lawyer. The courts aren't open. You used to come here and do these interviews here, but because of the current situation, if you're watching this from out of state in Illinois, we have a stay-at-home order. So this is how we do this now. Tell me how has life kind of changed for you?
Other than him being surrounded with his cat, kind of kicking the phone.
And weekly calls from me, sometimes more. Hey, we need more of your advice to our members. We need more advice. Tell me how that's gone.
So obviously everything's changed. I actually do go into the office quite frequently. Today I was in the office because I had to file a brief on a case. So the courts are still, in some respects, doing a little work.
Okay.
But I've picked up hobbies. I'm doing a lot of what everyone else is doing, wasting time till everything goes back to normal. My phone does ring a lot. I've offered to help people out, 24/7, and I don't think after 9 o'clock anyone has called or before 8:30 a.m. But I've been available.
Those are usually the times I get through.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, I don't mind it. I'm usually up till midnight, so it's for me, it's fine. And quite frankly, I don't honestly know what day of the week is. So if someone calls me tomorrow, I wouldn't know if it's a Monday or a Saturday. So I don't even care at this point.
So you said you filed a brief today. So is that family law that's open, or is it pretty much all cases are being heard depending on the severity?
Right. In federal court, they actually have an order that any dates for filing have been extended. So if you had a date to file, you don't have to. In the circuit courts, you can still file stuff. It's just the judges don't read it until it's time for a hearing. So I don't know what's going to happen, but today was the date for filing. And so I wanted to finish it up and get it filed. I've got clients. I represent landlords, tenants. So that's still very busy, negotiating contracts, That's still busy. Real estate closings. And I'm about to do a video on orders of protection, because orders of protections, those hearings are still happening. And I just read that number's gone through the roof.
Oh man.
So we're offering help on that.
Well, thank you so much for doing that and offering help on that. That is not an easy thing to kind of get around. And I'm very grateful for people like you, for the case advocates that work through a lot of different not-for-profit organizations to kind of help curb some of the impact of the pandemic that's happening. Yeah, it's
It's
keeping
pretty
your
impressive.
yeah,
Go
it's
ahead.
very impressive. Keeping your mental health kind of in a place where you're happy with yourself, and then you're also happy with your spouse, and going out and keeping your physical activity and being happy with that. I mean, there's a lot of different portions of it that this pandemic has impacted. So again, really, really grateful for the good work that you're doing. And I know we've kind of taken this off on a tangent from unemployment, but
I mean, this is real life now. I mean,
this is real life.
Right.
there's so many facets to what's going on. We're here talking about unemployment, but at the same time, there's so many changes to everyone's life. I mean, Jeff, I remember when you used to be sitting right here where Sarah is, and we would
Right.
in person be able to dialogue. But I remember when you first told me Zoom, I've never really used that. Now it's the way of the world. I mean, everything has physically changed. Sarah earlier was raising food. She does food pantry drives. And even the way that's done is completely different. Why don't you tell us how that went?
Oh gosh, it was so because Easter's coming up this Sunday. My daughter, the youngest one, the 7-year-old, she wanted to be the Easter bunny. So we went around the neighborhood and we dropped off a few candies at each of our friends' homes, right? So basically what she was doing was she put on her gloves, ran up to the door, rang the doorbell, left a little pouch right outside the door. So again, not to disturb anyone, just to make sure that she was doing that aspect. But as we were doing this, we also collected bags of donation. We went to CVS, and the people in Woodridge, CVS, gave us tons and tons of candy to be donated to whoever was in need of Easter candy. Because of our essential workers not being able to kind of go out, along with work a whole shift or 2 shifts, some of them are working 2 shifts back to back, they don't have the time to kind of go out and get all of this candy. So we donated half of the candy that we received to the High Point Church. They have 4 different areas that they serve out of, Naperville, Bolingbrook, and the 2 other places escaped me. So we were able to do that. So what they're doing is they're creating these Easter baskets for their essential workers, basically for their families, and making sure that their constituents are receiving that. The other portion was also just to donate the remaining half of the candy to the Lyle Township Food Pantry. Again, I'm a huge proponent for getting behind anybody and making sure that there's food on the table. I would have loved to open the door for everybody else that's out there that needs food. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I'm not able to do that. So the next best thing is collecting those food drives and donating the money that way. So either food or money to any of these organizations to help bridge the gap until we are able to get out of unemployment and get out there and do our due diligence. It's heartbreaking sometimes, but I am 110% sure, and it's basketball terminology, it's 110%, right? I'm 110% sure that we are going to come out stronger on the other side. We are making creative strides. And as you mentioned before, you are helping on the case, on helping with the order of protection cases that are brought in front of you guys. And, a lot of other lawyers are doing just the very same thing. So again, I'm very grateful for the service that you guys are doing and keeping us out there and making sure that, there is some money coming in and there is some food on the table.
And Jeff,
thanks. It's amazing, though, how many people are volunteering their time for things they've never done, like making masks. People with 3D printers are making face shields. People are donating food, delivering food. It's very impressive that we have a lot of people that are helping everyone else out.
Yep, I agree completely. And as soon as we turn off here, I'm going to go back to making masks next. I wasn't really that I was never a great sewer or a knitter or anything else to that aspect, but it doesn't take much. It's like 3 seams on a sewing machine or even by hand, and it's very therapeutic. Because if we weren't doing this, we would be bored and sleeping, right?
Well, right. It's changing our life staying at home. I've done more things around the house. My son and I are looking to put a light in my shower in the ceiling because we have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that before, and so we're going to give it a shot to see if we can do it.
Well, Jeff,
yeah.
I'll tell you this. You said you don't get a lot of feedback from people after the fact. I want to tell you, because I'd be selfish in keeping this credit for myself. I've heard from at least 15 people that thank you so much for the process of walking us through this. And you know this, we've done quite a few seminars right now.
Right.
People have come back because they've gotten through 90% of it, but had a couple more questions. But people have very much appreciated your ability and availability to come and speak with us regarding this ongoing issue. And I think the biggest credit to you is how many of the people who started with us who have been able to come back and be like, thank you, I'm finally where I need to be with that. And there's an influx of new people, but we appreciate you coming back, and I wanted to give you that feedback.
Right. My hope is that the people we've helped, and it's, you guys too, because I couldn't do it without you. I could sit in my room by myself and talk to myself, but hopefully we don't see them again. I've solved their problem. I've made it easier. But, they're going to have issues in the future, and we'll change this platform to deal with those future problems and issues too.
Absolutely. And thank you for all the times you've joined us, and thank you for joining us again Monday, 4/13 at 5:00. We look forward to having you then and appreciate your ability and availability for all of us. So again,
I'm not going to be able to do it Monday.
Then it'll be Tuesday at 5:00. We'll see Jeff Jacobson. No, I'm just kidding. You let us know and we will update.
Yeah, it's 4/13. It's my wife's birthday.
Oh yeah, definitely not going to.
I am not taking her out though, just so we're clear.
Well, you know what? We have plenty of restaurants here in Lisle and our surrounding areas that deliver. My husband sucked at ordering Morton steak. I'm telling you. Here's the thing. It was her anniversary. They called him, or he called them, and they said, well, we have frozen steak, and then you can make it. Yeah, I don't want you near the kitchen, anywhere close to the kitchen. But definitely, there are plenty of other places that do curbside pickup. So I would definitely recommend that. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, we've been going local too when we're doing that. So
Jeff, one more time, just give us your contact information where people can reach out to you and get in touch with you if they have any questions. Website.
Sure. So
anything
it's 331-222-9529, 331-222-9529, or they can go to the website at jeffjacobsonlaw.com. It's got the contact information. It's got all sorts of information for the Department of Employment Security there. And that's probably the 2 best ways to get a hold of me.
And Jeff's been able to help our members, our community, not just in Illinois, but in other states. So we're happy to do that. If you didn't get those phone numbers, the phone number for myself is up here, and I'll connect you with Jeff. Jeff, thank you again for
all right, guys.
Walk us through this. Sarah Sadat, Jeff Jacobson, Raza Siddiqui, happy to join you each and every time. And keep those questions coming. We're here for you.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.